In the last section, we added some logic to handle the case in which our user both fails to sign in and sign up. Let's now test this out in the simulator and see if that error message is actually appearing. So I'm going to flip over to the simulator. I'll do my refresh. And then for my email, I'm going to put in an email of test@test.com and a password of password. So now when I click login, we're going to run that on button press handler right here. So we're going to run this code. And the first time that I log in, my expectations are going to be that I fail this case because I do not yet have an account with an email of test@test.com, but I expect that I will succeed in creating an account. So the first time I press this button, I expect basically nothing to happen. So I press it and yep, looks good, and nothing happens whatsoever. Now I'm going to change my password, only the password, to just some, basically random string of characters here. Now this time around, I will attempt to sign in with an email and password. The email will be test@test.com, but the password will be incorrect. So I'm going to hit the catch case. I'm then going to try to create a user account with a test@test.com email, but this call right here is also going to fail because that email is already in use. And so I'm going to hit my second catch statement, and I'll expect to see the error message. So let's test this out. All I have to do is click login. And we get the authentication failed message here. You'll also notice that it took a little bit of time to actually complete that request. Like, we were waiting a good 2 or 3 seconds there. That definitely tells me that, hey, you know what, we might need some methodology or something to tell our user that this request is still pending. Like, we are waiting for an update, we're trying to log you in, but just give us a second. Otherwise, our users are gonna think that, this feels awfully broken. So it looks like the error handling is in a good spot here. I wanna do one small thing though that kind of will throw a wrench in our plans. I'm going to delete our password, and I'm gonna put in my correct one. So my correct password is password. And then I'm gonna click the login button. So now my expectation here is that I will successfully log in because I have the correct email and the correct password. So I will log in, and I'm waiting, and okay, I don't really know what is happening. I definitely expect to have successfully logged in here. So what's really happening at this point in time is we don't have any logic whatsoever to clear out this error message if a user attempts to log in again. Right? We want to, as soon as the user attempts to log in a second time, we want to make sure that we clear this error message immediately, just so that they know that, okay, like this follow-up request, me trying to log in again is pending, and then eventually maybe the error message will pop up. So to handle that case, inside of our button press handler here, which is called the instant the user presses on that button, I'm going to call this .setState error, and I'm going to reset it to be an empty object. So now if I fail to log in once and then attempt to log in again, that error message is going to instantly clear out, and the user is going to know, hey, all right, reasonably I believe that the app is trying to log me in again. So let's test this out. I'll put in test@test.com, and I'm going to put in a bad password just to get an error message to appear on the screen. And now I'll replace it with a good password, and I'm going to click login, and the instant I click it, the error message goes away, exactly what I want. It lets the user know, okay, we acknowledge that you put in a new email and password and you are attempting to log in again. As a quick aside, I want to point out that this is a big difference between web development and mobile development. If you've got any type of background in web development, you know that sometimes we can kind of bend the rules when it comes to UX. Like on UX, maybe we wouldn't really have to throw in all this fancy error handling, show the user an error message and clear it out all the time, all this kind of stuff, or even have to show a spinner or anything like that. But with mobile, where we sometimes have awful internet connectivity or laggy mobile devices, giving strong feedback to the user is paramount. So we spend a lot more time with React Native than with React.js to make sure that we give our user a lot more signaling about the actions that they're committing inside of our app. So on that note, again, when I attempt to sign in, there's definitely a non-zero pause in here. Like there is some distinct pause as I attempt to authenticate myself, right? Like if I put in a bad password, I'm waiting, and There we go. Finally, I get that authentication failed message appearing. So you can imagine that if I'm on a 2G or a 3G network connection, this request is going to take quite some time. So with that in mind, I suggest that when a user presses the button to log in, we show a spinner instead of this login button right here, just so the user knows, hey, we got it, we're attempting to log you in. Then when the user successfully logs in or fails, whatever it might be, we should show the button again and hide the spinner. So basically we're talking about toggling the spinner a little bit. Now I expect that there will be several locations within our app that we're creating where we will want to show a spinner to the user. So I'm going to suggest that we make a standalone spinner component that can be reusable. Okay, so that's our goal here. We're going to create a spinner component that is reusable. You know what to do now. Whenever we make a reusable component, we'll make a new file inside of our components common directory. So I'm going to make a new file called spinner.js inside of that common directory. And then inside of here, we'll place some boilerplate for making a new component. So we'll place import React from React. I'll import Vue from React Native. And then I'm going to make my component. I expect this to just be a presentational component, like I either want to show a spinner or I don't. So this component's not going to have any requirement for state, because basically if I try to render the spinner, the idea here is I should get a spinner on the screen. So I'll make a functional component, and from here I will return, right now, just a single view tag. And at the bottom, I'll place my export statement. Because this is one of our reusable components that we are rerouting through that index.js file, we use spinner with the braces in here. So speaking of which, let's hop over to the index file and make sure that we route that import statement through here. So we'll say export star from spinner. So now any other file inside of our application can import the spinner component from just the referencing the common directory, which definitely matches our pattern with all of the other reusable components that we have. Okay, let's take a quick break and finish up with the spinner in the next section.